So exclusions are monitoring, have become a critical tool for ensuring compliance, program integrity, and safety. There's two main exclusion lists that we search daily. The first being the Office of Inspector General, or OIG. This list maintains primarily federal excluded individuals or providers and entities that disbar those from participating in Medicare, Medicaid, and other federally financed healthcare programs. The second list that we search is the General Services Administration. This list maintains the SAM database and is not necessarily as industry specific, but the GSA list is a roster of individuals and organizations that are not eligible, to participate in federal and state contracts due to criminal behavior or misconduct. States can have their own Medicaid exclusion lists. These lists are called Medicaid Fraud Control Units, or MFCUs. 43 states have programs like this, and out of the 43 states, each state varies on the information required to search for an excluded individual or entity. So OIG, or the Office of Inspector General, the Congress first mandated exclusions in 1977 after the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, as well as the Balanced Budget Act, were enacted in 1997. The Department of Health and Human Services Office of Inspector General was actually given the authority to create the list of excluded individuals and entities. The states require to inform the OIG of actions taken at the state level, and these actions usually include criminal behavior or misconduct, and actions are always taken through the MFCUs. The OIG list is updated each month and can levy significant civil fines to those who violate it. The main effect of an exclusion is that no payment will be made to any items or services provided by an excluded individual or entity. Now, as I mentioned before, the OIG has authorization to exclude any individuals, providers, or entities that have been convicted of criminal behavior or misconduct. The OIG does break it down into two different types of exclusion lists based on the severity of the offense that was committed. The first list is the mandatory exclusion list. And so the OIG is required to exclude any individual, providers, or entities that have been convicted of a felony. And the OIG has no discretion of any kind of the mandatory exclusions. So a couple of offenses that are felonies are Medicare, Medicaid fraud, patient abuse or neglect, fraud, theft, general financial misconduct, or any kind of felony conviction related to controlled substances. The other list is the permissive list. Now, the permissive list is not necessarily, there has a little bit more leeway than the mandatory list. So permissive is anybody who is committed a misdemeanor. They may or may not be placed on the exclusion list, but the OIG has, in this case, discretion to issue them on and place them on the exclusion list. Permissive list, those on the permissive list are anybody who commits a misdemeanor offense. So misdemeanors include Medicare or Medicaid fraud, government funded fraud, misdemeanors related to controlled substances, suspension, revocation, surrendering of licenses. It could even be defaulting on an education loan. So the OIG is mainly for those in healthcare, and the GSA has a much larger scope. Getting into the GSA maintains a centralized database for government contracting known as SAM, or System of Award Management. This is a procurement database that includes all contractors approved and excluded from doing business with the federal government. SAM was implemented in 2012 and collects information from multiple databases. And some of those databases are the Central Contractor Registry, Federal Agency Registration, Excluded Party Systems, and OIG's list of excluded individuals. The two main differences between both OIG and GSA does not have as much power or levy on the fines or penalties like the OIG does, but for the basis of exclusion, OIG is relatively straightforward. For contracted individuals that can be excluded on the GSA for a variety of reasons. Some of those reasons include foreign nationals that are barred from entering the US, individuals that have violated national security protocol, conviction of tax fraud, and again, default on a student loan. The GSA's database is also more difficult to navigate than the OIG. GSA exclusions require a Dun and Bradstreet number of an entity. GSA databases do not include providers' license numbers or NPI data. So here at CI, we have a search that is exclusive to us. It's called the Healthcare Comply Search. So in addition to searching both OIG and GSA, we also have the ability to search federal agency databases. So the Healthcare Comply Search is much more comprehensive because we look into both current and historic data. When conducting the healthcare comply search, we are also able to find disciplinary actions taken on individuals' licenses or certifications throughout all 50 states. And basically, overall, the healthcare comply search is all-inclusive that is available to healthcare individuals and contractors for the sanctions described previously and for any actions covered by the Patriot Act. And that's all that I have.